This video is has a bit of a story behind it. I helped a friend of mine, Jesse, swap out his batteries, and he got the new charger and gauge, very similar to what I did with mine as far as the battery swap. And in the end, I decided I was going to go ahead and plug my charger in there, which has a bypass on it, to make the green light work down here by the charging port. And unfortunately, the charging port went up in a puff of smoke, and the mower was completely disabled. So ran over to my house, pulled my charging port out of my mower, put it into his mower, and got his mower running. And of course, that left me without a charging port. So then I went looking for a charging port. The Ryobi charging ports apparently are hard to find. I did order one. It might still be coming. And it was like $60 or something like that. I'll put some information in here. In the meantime, I thought, well, I don't know if that's really going to be a Ryobi charging port, quite frankly. So there's a lot of other charging ports out there, and I thought they were all different kinds. But it turns out they're all EZGO charging ports. And so I ordered an EZGO charging port. They run $30 to $40 on up. I think I got this one for $31, $32. Once again, I'll put the information on the screen or down in the description. So this video is to install an EZGO power port on your Ryobi mower. It actually works. It's not that difficult. The hardest part is to trim this plate, this mounting plate, because the EZGO plate is quite a bit larger, and the plug goes in at an angle, which I never realized when I was looking at the pictures until I got the new charging port here. But anyway, let's get into the video. We got to pull the cover off, open up the seat, get the access panel out, get some stuff hooked up, and I'll go ahead and explain some more as we go. What I want to do today is I want to replace the Ryobi charging port, which this is, and so this one's no good. It's a different style. Mine, I'll show you a picture up here, but mine looked more like this one on the back with the 3 Phillips head screws. This is a different version of the Ryobi that came out of Jesse's mower. And since the Ryobi charging ports seem to be a little hard to find, they've been discontinued, they're out of production, something like that. I can't seem to locate one. I never actually tried to call Ryobi, but looking on eBay and searching online. So what I did find is that, of course, the Ryobi 48 volt system has got a loose association with electric golf carts. So this is out of apparently an electric golf cart, EZGO, and I'll put a little bit of information here on the screen on this part number and where it came from. And if you compare this to my charging port, you can see it has a very similar configuration here. So it's very possible that they did a different molding for plastic mold for this piece, and then they just used a standard plug here, let's call it, to plug that into the port itself. So the difference between this one and this one, they have basically the same color wires. There's a red and black wire, which is the 48 volt connection. This one here looks like it goes straight to a battery. Oops, here's the black. Black and red, it looks like they go straight to the battery with the M8 or M10 bolts, whatever are connected to the battery. The gray wire is, I believe, a thermistor. And so that must be some sort of a temperature monitor. And this one has, the Ryobi has a similar thing, and it plugs into this white port, which is also this gray wire. And this gray wire, actually, there's 2 small wires in there. It's hard to see, but there's a red and black wire in there. So I assume that's the same as true for this one. So I'm going to try not to mess with that too much. Then this blue wire plugs into this controller module, and this plug will plug into the mower. Right now I have that bypassed on mine. So it looks like this unplugs quite easily, and it looks like it's the same plug. It's got a single contact, and that just snaps right on there. So part of this whole transfer is going to be putting this onto there, changing the plug out for the black and red wire, and then shoving it in this hole. As you can see, these plates are considerably different sizes. So I'm going to have to cut this plate down. And the other thing is, this port is actually going in at an angle through this plate. You might be able to see it like that. So you can see it's canted over. So that only adds to the trouble with trying to install this into here. But it looks like the wiring connections are pretty similar, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, change over the plugs, and then we'll go ahead and plug it in and see if this one will actually work, and I can use this as a charging port with my charger. The original Ryobi charger port, same as mine, had a couple of tabs down there that I broke off so that my charging plug could fit. So Jesse's plug had the same tabs, and those have been broken off. This one here doesn't have any tabs or any idiot proofings to prevent you from putting a different plug in there. But my plug does fit. If they put it in the right way, it snaps right in. And of course, it's at an angle. So that's the first part of seeing if this will fit. So I'm assuming it's making good connections. All right, I'm going to take the black and red wire. I'm going to cut them off, and I'm going to cut the red and white wire off of here to get to this plug, and this plug is going to be attached to this charging port. So I want this plug off the original Ryobi charging port, and this is completely ruined, so I don't have to save any wire off of this, but we're going to cut it off right about here. Red and black. This says PVC tubing on it, which is always fine. Take that off, and there I've got that plug. There's nothing else that I need off the original Ryobi plug, because I'm going to use the new connection for the thermistor, whatever. And of course this plug matches, so I think I'm going to be okay there. So we'll set that off. Now the new connector, the new charging port, has considerably longer wire to it, which is fine. I don't think I really need that much wire, but I'm going to cut it off somewhere in here. So we don't want to cut through this, because we don't want to cut this gray wire. We want to keep that one intact. So I'm going to go ahead and try to snip this off without hurting myself. Woo! Almost got myself in the eye. Okay, so this corrugated tubing, we'll peel that back, and we can see the red, black, and save the gray. Red and black wire cut. That comes off. So we're saving this. I always forget the heat shrink tubing. So before I get sidetracked, I'm going to go ahead and slip this on here. I think what'll be fun too is I think I use this this tubing instead of this one, so we'll cut this off. Flux on that. And I'm not an expert wire solderer, so you're welcome to leave comments, but in the meantime, this is the way I'm going to do it.
plugged in. Yep, I am. Got a little bit of solder on there. That'll be enough. Almost forgot my flux. Suck it up. Whoa. Stay together. The charger only runs, I think, a max of 13 amps. The lithium batteries don't like to see a lot of amps or volts going into the battery pack. So these wires are probably much heavier than they need to be for what we're doing, so my connection doesn't have to be that ideal. So let's see if I can get this shrink tubing over it. Get that about centered. A couple more, that's all right. Get that about centered. Throw a little heat on it. Looks like that's pretty well shrunk down. I almost forgot I wanted to put this on there. There, that looks kind of nice. All right, let's go back to the mower and see how this is going to fit. All right, I'm back and we're going to plug this in and see if we can get my mower to charge again. So we'll flip this up and snap this access cover. Get that out of the way. All right, off comes the back cover. Cover has to actually go down to get unsnapped from these hooks here. And there's a couple of hooks in here that have to come out. One here and one there, and the cover's off. So I'm going to go ahead and take the battery tray out, slide it out a little bit so I can access the battery terminal. You can't see it, but I'm taking the bumper off with the 2 bolts and 2 nuts. And the battery tray, we got to take out the long bolt up here at the top. And these 2 bolts down here. And these 2 bolts on the tray have got a lock washer and a washer. And they also have a spacer between the tray and the frame, so don't forget those. That bolt out all the way. Now maybe a little further. Ugh. And this is a positive, so we want to be careful we don't ground it out on something. I don't know if this is a 13 or a 12, but 13 will do it. All right, so that's coming out.
And one other thing is, I think that this piece here, take the 3 Phillips head screws out, and this whole thing should slide out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that also, because that'll make it easier to mess around with this without messing up the wiring. And it does slide right out. So I've got that off. This is the part I want to work on, because this is the part that I want to get fitted in here. So ideally, I want to get this port as far that way as I can, because as you can see right now, it's hanging off over here. And if I can get this thing centered up, I think it'll just fit better in this hole, and it'll actually is supposed to sink down. Here's the old port. So we want this to actually be down here below flush, because I think this is going to stick up a little bit, and it's going to hit this cover, because this cover sits flat on here across. So I'm probably going to end up having to cut some of this off, probably with the sander, actually this way. So anyway, to get this thing to move over, so to get this thing to be moved over this way, I think the first thing that it's hitting is it's hitting right here. So I've got my Dremel, my little cutting blade, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Hopefully that doesn't affect anything of structural importance. And now we're hitting down here. There's not much I can do about that, because that's where the nut is. I'm going to put a couple of strips of painter's tape on here to outline the opening. Line this up here, and a little black marker. Mark that, and that. Same thing here. And that one's right here. So I'm going to start off by cutting the top and the bottom off, and see if I can get it the right width to fit in that slot. Quick, be right back. All right, here's the first cut, first pass. And it looks like we got to take off a little bit more. Well, on the up and down, I got it pretty close. I think I'm just going to dust it a little bit more here in the middle. The bottom looks pretty straight and flat. And then I'll start carving the sides to get it to fit down in this pocket. Belt sander's taking a real beating, though. It is just covered in black plastic goo. Okay, so next, I want to set at least a target for this way. That would be there, and it would be there. As you can see, this port doesn't appear to be a rectangle. It was more of a trapezoid. So, two more black lines. We're going to cut that, square it up, and see if we can drop that end in. Just got to cut these corners off. All right, that's dropping in there. Just a bit more. I think I could actually take off a little more, but I think I'm okay, because the position of the screws and everything, I'm kind of centered. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the other side with my target lines. with this edge of the tape. And I'll scribe a line across there and grind all that off. This will be the final cut, so I hope I don't mess it up too bad. Just need a little sliver off this side. And it's in. All right. And as I feared, this cover port's not going to close all the way. I can easily get a finger in between here. I hate to do this, but I think I'm going to grind the top of this off. Let's get the magic marker out. All right, that's going to get me some cross holes for my drill. All right, I got some holes wallowed out in there. And a little sunshine on there so you can see what it looks like. Didn't scratch it up too much. Almost looks original. Oh yeah, the lid doesn't close. So I don't know how far I want to go with this. Like I said, it's over a finger gap here, and I got pretty fat fingers. Hopefully that's the last cut. I think that's as good as it gets. So I'm done grinding. Done on the belt sander. Just got to remember to plug this thing in crooked. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and try to put this whole thing back together so we can get it plugged in. And I think we'll be done. So, all right, we'll see if we can get this thing buttoned up. Got screws laying everywhere. Get that out. And we got to get these wires run through there. Gently slide that together, press it together. 3 screws. Stay. All right, I think we can slide this back in. Put this little black module, get the Phillips head screw in that. And let's get the big clamp bolt in. Got it. Amazing. Got that snugged up. Bolt, lock, washer, and spacer. Here. Put this cover on. Bumper. And I don't think I've missed anything. I just got to get this cover on after you put it up here. And then get those in those little slots. Once you got those in, you got to snap these 3 hooks on. 1, 2, 3. 3. That should get everything lined up, and we'll put in the rest of the screws. All right. I don't see any extra parts laying around, so we should be all set to go. Let's get on it and give it one more ride. Make sure everything's hooked up right, and make sure the charging port still works. Still has a lot of safety interlocks still hooked up, but looks like it's working. Blade turns. We'll go check the battery charger. So we'll get the battery charger plugged in. Usually we'll just lay it right there. Open up the port. My little green light's going on. That's good. And turn it on. Got it on 5 amps. And the charger started. It's flashing at about 80%, wanting to go to 100%. So this is how I successfully fit an EZGO plug into my Ryobi mower, and it works. So obviously the Ryobi, I'm going to say the original plugs were based on the EZGO plugs, wherever they came from. But it looks like everything's working. So if you want to try something like this yourself, or if you need to, if you have trouble finding the Ryobi charger port, it can be done. You can get the EZGO plug to fit, and it's a little busy, but it's not really expensive. Did a lot of work to get this retrofitted in there, but it's a pretty clean assembly, and I'm pretty happy with the results. So thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.